What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Kryptonian's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Mezco 112 Superman, kind of the classic take on Superman. And this is on loan to me, once again, via Energon Addict, who's part of the show Breaking the Mold on the Cool Table Network. This guy has a number of accessories. They're pretty awesome. Let's get into them. First and foremost, he comes with the display stage. It's done really well with the yellow, red, black, and blue. The peg doesn't quite fit the foot right. Like it'll work, but it takes some effort. Now, of course, it worked like a champ. But trust me, when I've been manipulating, oh, good grief, take my word for it. It hasn't always worked this well. But if that doesn't tickle your fancy, you can always put in the arm here. I do wish that it was more in line with the S, but I guess it's not a big deal. And you can use this. It swivels here, hinge, 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 swivel, hinge. So you can use this to grip the figure. And then on top of that, you can use this little C-clip device, and I think it's got to go on this piece. And then you can use these to kind of clip onto the cape. And these are all, there comes with plenty of these. It comes with 5 of these, and you can use these, plug them into there, and clip onto the cape. And by utilizing both, you can have him in a pretty dynamic, pose. And I'm just throwing this, I just threw this together. You can do a better job of kind of hiding the clips if you're smart about it, but either way, it's pretty awesome. He comes with a couple hand options, 2 flying hands or 2 posing hands / gripping hands, plus the 2 fist hands that you saw in the opening footage. He comes with 3 kind of bullet deflection effects. They are magnetized and made of a translucent plastic, and the cool thing about them is the S on his chest is magnetized as well, so you can put him on his chest to deflect the incoming rounds. My favorite accessory in this set is this miniature, the shrunken lost city of Kandor. It is awesome. The buildings themselves are just a yellow plastic, and then it has a little brown, sort of paint added there to the bottom. This clear plastic translucent capsule over top, and then, the kind of trophy stand it sits on with the blue paint added on. It's just absolutely, this is the sort of stuff that makes me fall in love with accessories. Like, I would definitely find a way to display this, whether it be a diorama or somewhere on the shelf, because it's too awesome. One little kryptonite effect with a brown or a gray sculpt down here at the bottom, dry brush with a lighter gray for the rock, and then the green is all a translucent green. Looks great. This would be a little bit harder to display, but I think it's a nice option to have. One alternate face sculpt. Once again, it doesn't quite do it for me. It's supposed to be the powering up face. I don't feel like the eyes are painted straight on. I feel like this one's looking a little bit more towards the nose than the other. This is a hard thing to do. I'm not sure if I've seen a figure that I really like the way that they've done this sort of effect. This one, more than most, looks like he just has a very irritated rash over top of his eyes, but it's fine. It's just, it's an E for effort type of deal. The sculpt is great. The paint application is great. I'm just not sure if the approach is good, and so forth. And then he comes with 2 chain-linked chains, link chains. What is the right name for that? They are on a wire, so they are bendable and posable, and they're actually painted nicely. There's like a silver with a weathering effect on, so you can kind of recreate that classic image of Superman bending the chains, or you can use it as a him breaking out of chains or whatever. There's options there. Now let's talk about the figure. So the head sculpt I like a lot. I think it's a very neutral kind of run-of-the-mill Superman. It's not too, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people have their favorite Superman artists, and I don't feel like it's to any one artist. I think it's a very fair, middle of the road representation, which I think is the right way to approach this. The paint is all done really well on the eyes. There's shading on the face, there's shading on the neck, shading on the lips and such. The hair is painted well and clean, all sculpted beautifully. The head is on a double ball peg. Let's see if I can't show you, but it is a shallow and thick ball peg, so you don't get much out of it at the top. You get a fair bit. You actually get a decent bit up, which is nice for flying poses. You get a fair bit down, but not really, and then the swivel. Now, you do have an additional ball peg from the neck into the chest, but even still, the range of motion isn't great. I like my Superman looking down. I don't know. For me, it's like For Tomorrow, Jim Lee Superman kind of rising above it all and looking down. But that's me. And that's no need to get caught up on my personal vision of Superman. Either way, it's done fairly well. The neck might be a little long. And I don't have the head quite sitting in the middle of the ball peg there, but like it might be a little long. It's not bothersome, but just something to note. Nice sculpture or sculpt work done on the chest into the kind of soft goods. The soft goods, we'll talk about this now. So it's that stretchy material that they use for spandex. It actually works really well. You do get some big seams in there that look a little silly from time to time. Most of these seams are hidden by the cape, so it's actually not bad. My problem, once again, much like the Wolverine, is the way that they do the briefs. The briefs should be over top of the suit, and because they do them like as one piece, like it just ends up looking a little too pajamas for me. Are you a pajama or a pajama guy? I feel like I switch it up. I'm not entirely sure. And then we have the belt, which is on top of it as a floating piece. It might be glued in here. And then the Superman chest piece, which is glued in. This little bottom spike is a bit on the sharp side. The boots are plastic sculpted. We have different reds from the trim to the actual boot. Same with the sole to the top of the boot. So that works really well. The cape is a beautiful material. It's fantastic. And then it has the Superman S on the back. That's not my preferred way of doing business. I don't care for the S on the back, but I understand why they did it. They went for a very, very kind of classic sort of representation of Superman. Some people don't like the briefs. They think it's kind of dated. I, for one, like it for obvious reasons. Are you going to tell me that you wouldn't look at me like I was an alien if you saw me walking down the street like this? Eating a pretzel stick? Then it works. But with that being said, let's continue talking about the figure, because we kind of already have talked about all the soft goods and the stylization. So we'll talk about the articulation. Feels like we had the same sort of shoulder. I think it's a disc hinge to a ball peg inside the chest. You get the arm all the way up to there. Swivels up to there without putting too much strain on the soft goods, so I think that works fine. And the butterfly gets you just the slightest bit inward and a fair bit back, to be fair. Bicep swivel, that works fine. I would imagine it's a double jointed elbow. I think it's a double jointed elbow, and that gets you at least 90 degrees. Wrists are on typical ball hinges, so they hinge back and forth, and the wrist swivels, and then the ball hinge swivels inside the forearm, so you can get up, down, or spin it and get in, out. No problems there. Perfectly done. Now, we got I think this is a single ball peg from the chest into the abdomen. It might be a double, and then another. Yeah, this might be a double up top and a single down below. So kind of standard. Using both, you can swivel it a fair bit, but not great. But I think it's enough, honestly. You can crunch down a little bit. You can crunch back far better. That seems to be the standard with these figures. Crunching forward is always, usually for articulation purposes, more important than arching back. But that's just my opinion. We have T-jointed ball joints for hips. And the material stretches nicely, so you can get the figure to get out to the side fairly well. Forward and back, not too bad either. And then you have a thigh swivel built around the ball peg, and that works fine. The musculature is sculpted underneath, so when the suit is pulled against it, you do see the muscle definition underneath. That continues to be nicely done with the company. Double jointed knee, that gets you a great range, and everything sort of works well regarding the soft goods around it. You get the slightest bit of a calf swivel, and then you get, I really want to take this apart. I think it's just a double ball peg, which gets you the foot up a bit on the tilt, down a fair bit on the tilt, and a rocker, but the articulation isn't great in that regard. And that is pretty much it. I love the cape. It's sewn into just the right part of Superman. Like the Superman cape for me, like needs to come down and over the chest so you can have it, this way, and then it's all bunched up like quite appropriately around the collar. I think that's done really well. I love the materials. It has a good weight to it in terms of the cape, so that is really splendid. The suit, it's these breeches again, but that's the figure from the back. Size comparison wise, there it is with a Marvel Legend, and it's pretty much on par, and I think that's because Mezco is an American company. A lot of times with the imports it's slightly smaller, but this holds up fairly well. Final thoughts wise, it's pretty solid. My main issues are the soft goods in relation to the kind of leatherish, pleatherish thing for the breeches and then the spandex underneath and where that meets and how that all works, the same as it was for Wolverine, both aesthetically and kind of functionally. I also feel like that double ball peg, both at the neck into the head and from the ankle into the foot, doesn't quite give you enough play on either to get all of the poses you really want. That's where this thing seems most limited. That and the upper ab crunch. But as you can see, you're still going to be able to get plenty of poses out of them. You're still going to be able to make a strong shelf presence. It comes with tons of accessories that are all interesting, cool, and make for display options that will enhance your shelf. So it is ultimately a recommendation for me based on presence, accessories, articulation, sculpt, paint, and that cape, which you know I love. So I hope that makes sense. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.